Hello. Glad you can make it. Welcome to Video Game Island. My name is Professor Mac, and this is my assistant, Jose. Video Game Island is located somewhere in the Atlantic and is connected through a system of railways. Anyways, I'm glad that you're here, and I will be teaching you so much about my work here on this island. You see, I'm a scientist, and we are so happy to teach you about our work with video games. So, if you'll step this way, I will be taking you to my research laboratory, which is located on the west side of the island. Fantastic. The train's arrived. Now let's get on. And what a fantastic train it is. We're on a hype train, you see. And since we're on this hype train, I guess we can talk about it before we get our way to the research laboratory. In the context of most things, hype usually means to stimulate, excite, or agitate. But for us, we want to be talking about video games. And video game hype is really about the creation of new material and the build-up towards this new material. Hype really is immeasurable, but it can be built by either developers or the players. And so how does the developers build hype? Well, they could have press conferences, they could have trailers to launch, and they could do interviews. So really they're communicating with the crowd about their new content. And on the other side of the coin, fans communicate with hype in a different way. See, they take the content that the developers give and they discuss it, they start talking about it. So they could have discussions, they can talk about it in a community, and they can create other stuff in celebration of this new content, like fan arts. Now, hype can be either a good thing or a bad thing, and let's see why. Hype is good because it can create many good things. Money, a community, and frankly, it's just such a very interesting part of the cycle of video games. Because of the hype that's created for the Call of Duty video games, tons of money is generated. In fact, Call of Duty is one of the most successful video game series of all time. A community that was created off video game hype was the Show Me Your Videos community at Smashwords.com. You see, what they did was they started talking about every little small release of new content on the Smash Dojo, which was a hype site generated for the launch of Super Smash Bros. Brawl in 2008. E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo, is basically a gigantic hype fest. Developers go out and talk about their new video games, and well, literally, what do you know? New trailers come out, and people get super excited over the games. In fact, it's a very popular sporting event, in a sense, every single year. But with all good things, there is a dark side. Video game hype can be quite bad, actually. One way it can be bad is that video game hype creates enormous excitement and expectations for a video game. And if these expectations are not met, well, you know, it just doesn't work out in the bottom line. Hype, in the worst case scenario, leads to something called development hell, which we may talk about more in the future. But development hell is when a video game gets into such a long production cycle that it's never ever released. In fact, Duke Nukem Forever, which was one of the longest games in development hell ever, actually spent quite a long time there, and when it was finally released in 2012, it completely flopped, and everyone was disappointed. Furthermore, video game hype can create many broken promises. If a developer promises a new feature and then runs out of money, they can't deliver on this. Many times this happens and people are left with a sour taste and their expectations are not met. Well, I guess we're halfway there. I think we can take a lot more time later on to speak about the more intricate parts of hype, and I'm sure we'll be having a great time. Now where was I? Wait, what's that? Is that a gigantic rock? Ah! Oh my gosh, what was that? Jose, are you alright? And are you alright? Well, crap. It seems that the train's broken. You know, I think we'll have to walk the rest of the way. Was that a wild game? Please tell me it was not a wild game. Well, we're in a tough spot. I'll see you next time, guys. I figure out what we're gonna do in this situation.